Okay, so I've got some exercises for you to try now. Um, Here's the first one. I'd like you, so these are exercises. Let's get that a little bigger here. Exercises. They're sort of short pieces of code that are kind of fun and cool to try to get working. All right, so write a program to compute the sum of I equals 1 to n of I. All right. So what this would look like is if you said sum of 1, this would return 1. If you said sum of 2, this would return 1 plus 2, which is 3. If you said sum of 10, this is going to return 55. So that's the first program that I want you to try. And the second program I want you to try is a program that counts the number of list items. All right, and so the way this would work is we're going to say size A, B, C, and that is going to return 3. If we said size of size of the empty list, that would return 0. If we said size of let's do this. It's a little hard to see, so let me make this a little clearer. So size of AB, that doesn't look right either. So A, B, C, D, this would return 3 as well. All right, so we've got one thing, compute the sum of the numbers from 1 to n, where n is the argument that's passed in, and then one that counts the number of list items. That's called size. So what I want you to do is hit pause, use Dr. Racket to write this code in Scheme, and let's see if you can get these both working. And I'll give you my solution. When you unpause it, you'll see me typing in my solution. But make sure you do your solution first, so we've got some agreement. Okay? All right. Hit pause. And now I'm assuming if you've unpaused that you've come up with your own solution. I'm going to write mine here for the first one. Let's make this text just a little bigger. Okay, so define, and we're going to call this function compute. Actually, well, let's call it sum. Sum, and it takes n as an argument. All right, so let's think about this. What is the base case? The base case, cond, the base case is when x is equal to 1. That means we're basically done. And we're going to return 1. And the recursive case, that's our else, is when we have anything else. And when we have anything else, what we're going to do is we're going to add, I said x there, that should be n. We're going to add n to the sum of minus n1, n minus 1. Close that cond and close the define. Okay, and we'll save this. call these, let's put this in the right directory. Lectures, scheme, and we'll call this exercises. Save it. Okay, great. So let's try running it. Sum of 1. Oh, gotta click run first. Okay, all right. Sum of 1. That returns 1. Sum of 2. That should return 3. And sum of 10. That returns 55. Okay, that's looking pretty good. All right, let's try the second one. So this is going to define, this is size. So we're going to define size, and we're going to take in the list. Okay, so this has a con statement as well. And what we're going to say is if the list is empty, that's our base case. If the list is empty, we're going to return 0 as the size. Else, we're going to return the following. Else, we're going to return the following. We're going to add 1 to the list, to the size of the list minus basically the list stripped down by 1. So size of rest the list. Okay, so let's just go over this again. So if the list comes in and it's empty, then we're going to stop. Otherwise, what we're going to do is build up the size of the list by computing, adding 1 to the current value of the size of the list, returning basically 1 plus the recursive call to size with the current list with the first element pulled off the current list, so rest of the list. So that should work out just ducky. And let's take a look. Say, oh, I've got to run this. And then we'll say size A, that should be 1. Let's do size A, B, C, that should be 3. Okay, now it might be interesting to kind of trace the execution of this in case you're having trouble following what is going on with the base case and what's going on with the recursive case. So it's been a while since I used Dr. Rocket, but I know it has a really nice debugger which you can use to figure out what's going on. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on by using the debugger. So there is the debugger, and I'm going to say size size A, B, C. So let's see what happens with size when we run it. Okay. Oops, I didn't set a breakpoint. I think you can set breakpoints here. So I will set a breakpoint here. And I'll set a breakpoint here. Okay, so we've got 2 breakpoints now. And I think that'll help us understand how this runs. So let's see if we can run this again. Size A, B, C. Okay. Cool. So at the current moment, we have just invoked size ABC. The list has the value of ABC, and right now we're at this empty test. Okay, so let's step through and see what happens. Step into, step over. Let's step into. Okay, so what's happening so far is we pass through the test of empty and the list is not empty. And now we're doing the else statement. And we're trying to evaluate this +1 size rest of the list. All right, so let's step into this. Okay, and now it's saying, well, in order to evaluate that +1, we've got to evaluate size rest of the list. So we're going to call size rest of the list again. But first we've got to get rest of the list. Rest of the list is going to give us BC. And now we're calling size again. So you can see on the stack we've got this con statement that needs to be evaluated. That's this whole statement here, but it's on pause until we evaluate size of rest of list. And rest of list is now evaluates to BC. All right, so we went from a list ABC to BC. All right, so we'll step through this again. It's not empty, so we're going to repeat this process. Evaluate size rest of the list. And now we're evaluating a cond, and then from the cond, we're evaluating a size. So the cond is evaluating the list ABC. This size is evaluating the list BC, and this next size is evaluating the list C. All right. And it's not empty. And so we're going to call size rest of list again. And now we have 3 sizes that are getting evaluated. This time, though, when we evaluate empty, it's going to evaluate to true. So now we're 4 levels deep in the stack. And the list now has the value of empty list. And when we evaluate this empty, the list, it's going to be true. So we're actually going to return 0. And you're going to see the stack roll up a little bit. And now we're back into the previous call. And this time, we're going to take the 0 that was returned from size rest of the list for the empty list and add 1 to that and return 1 to the previous caller. Now, this rest of list returns 1. That was returning 1 for the list of size C. We're going to add 1 to that for the BC list and return that to the caller for 2. And finally, this, which was evaluating the size of the list BC, has returned 2. And we add 1 to that for the list ABC, and we return 3 to the original caller. And now you see 3 is returned. Pretty cool. All right, so that's a nice trace of size of a list.